Hello there, and welcome once again to White Lotus of Light. Today, I'm just going to be doing a fairly short video, for me anyway, where I sort of talk once again and sort of evolve my much earlier video on the Yugas, in particular, this coming transformation, this changing of the ages, this changing of the Yugas that is set to happen in 2025. Now, whenever the yugas change, there's always a lot of chaos. There's always a lot of confusion. There's always a lot of things just rapidly changing in states of flux because you're in a phase transition. It's one thing if you're going from like a descending Kali Yuga to an ascending Kali Yuga, which is what happened around the time of Solomon the King. But even then, there was a fair amount of chaos. But when you're shifting from one quality of Yuga to another, such as we're on the cusp of the Kali Yuga switching into the Dwarpa Yuga, the Bronze Age, the ascending Dwarpa Yuga or ascending Bronze Age from the ascending Iron Age, there's going to be a huge transition, and it's a phase shift. So there's a lot of chaos. A lot of old structures are breaking down, coming under question. Things are changing rapidly. And when you have this kind of change, it actually takes about 300 years to really settle from one yuga into the next. But when you're changing from one quality or metal of yuga, right, like the Kali Yugas are the Iron Age, and we're switching into the Dwarpa Yuga, right? We know that the last Yuga shift must have been very significant, where it shifted from the descending Dwarpa Yuga approximately 6,000 years ago into the descending Kali Yuga. We can know that it was very significant because despite the fact that we have lots of structures that we now know are older than 6,000 years, we have very little historical record from prior to that time. I am of the personal belief, if you watch this channel a lot, you hear me talk about the molokians, that is the worshippers of Moloch, who in my estimation are the rulers of this world and have been for 6,000 years, but they're on the clock and that's winding down, and they're very soon going to lose a tremendous amount of power. I believe that they've gone out of their way, especially since the end of World War II, in consolidating the historical narrative and changing the history books. There's been clamps put on certain areas of archaeological investigation, in particular, the most notorious of which is ancient Egypt with Harari Zawas, or whatever his name is, who was the head forever of Egyptology in Egypt. He really kept the clamps down and wouldn't allow a lot of stuff to be explored. There's similar actions anywhere there's really ancient buildings. Always magically the governments get involved and kind of limit excavations, like that's happened now in Göbekli Tepe ever since the German archaeologist, whose name escapes me, died. There's been very little excavation there, and it's been sort of stymied at every turn by the Turkish government. And there's a reason for this. If we have evidence of previous archaeological ages in which there wasn't this like extremely nasty control structure that is very much in alignment with the Kali Yuga and the Molokian energies that dominate this time, where there's this tremendous division, there's duality, there's slavery and genocide, there's the Epstein-style harm of children, which is a real hallmark of the Molokians. That's kind of what really differentiates them from other groups that perhaps are a bit darker but are vastly better, such as, if you watch my channel a lot, you hear me talk about kind of like the three main factions are those who like myself, are in alignment with the Most High, whose name has been lost. That is the God of the angels, the God of the Golden Age on earth, the ruler of the Golden Age on earth. And the name is too beautiful and of high vibration to even be known in the Kali Yugas, is what I've been told by the angels. But that God of which Yeshua or Jesus was an emissary and a prophet of, we also had like Lao Tzu and Buddha and Pythagoras and Kuan Yin, and there's been lots and lots of beautiful men and women who have come down through the ages who are what are sometimes referred to as enlightened beings, who are bringing us this message of pure harmony. And then there's the Molokians, who are these evil, vile, enslaving, dark, genocide, complete top-down, total domination, total structure. I often see that Moloch offers either total surrender and submission or total annihilation and nothing else. The third impulse and group, and by the way, Moloch is very materializing and very material focused, right? Whereas the Most High is very spiritually liberated, and there's all sorts of harmony and a true utopia, not some kind of human-made utopia where there's, those usually go terribly wrong, especially in the Kali Yugas, and are perhaps done for nefarious reasons in a lot of cases. But the third group is the Luciferian group, and I have been told by the angels and other deities like Lord Thoth, the ancient Egyptian god of writing and magic and healing and astrology, that during the Kali Yugas, Moloch rules. During the Golden Yugas, the Sat Yugas, the Golden Age, which is opposite on the great astrological great year, the Most High rules. But during the Bronze and Silver Ages, Lucifer rules. And the Luciferian impulse is one that you can see in particular in the Renaissance, in Renaissance Florence, and again during the Enlightenment, and then again with the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights and that kind of energy. And it's more of a meritocracy, and very science-based, like real, true science, not the bastardization used by political groups to achieve endeavors and nonsense, but actual true science, the way science used to be done, say 7,500 years ago, where it was like very experimental and fact-based and as objective as we could achieve as humans. So Luciferian impulse is very pro-science, pro-art, pro-free speech, pro-liberty, pro-meritocracy. It still has a top-down structure, but it allows for social mobility, sort of the free market of Adam Smith, not the crony capitalism that we have, but actual true free exchange where both parties have full knowledge and they make an exchange that works for both parties. In the free market, usually a small market like a farmer's market, where the farmer is selling it to someone who wants food, and they know everything about the farmer and how the farmer raises their cows, and they're like, okay, I want some milk, or I know how you raise your corn, I want your corn, whatever it might be. And there's an exchange made with full transparency on both sides of the parties. That's what Adam Smith talked about. That's real capitalism, not the crony capitalism, central bank nonsense that we have. So I just want to make that clear. But that exchange that is really fecund and really fertile and like sort of elevates things, that is like kind of a Luciferian impulse, actually. And it was very new and different in a lot of ways, as that sort of thing started to develop. And so the Luciferian impulse is also spiritualizing, but again, it's sort of like the perfection of mankind, but from an egoic point of view, from a self-interest, like enlightened self-interest. That's a really great way to sort of encapsulate this Luciferian energy. And it is a false light, right? Like it's not the true light of the Most High. It's the false light of the perfected egoic, the self-enlightened interest energies of humanity. And so that group has been in constant tension with the Molokians, because that group is wanting to move humanity in a spiritualizing, increasing of the material well-being of humanity, in meritocratic, like people who are the best athletes or the best artists or the best scientists naturally will rise to the top. That's that kind of Luciferian impulse, where the Molokian is much more control-based, and it doesn't care whether you're good at something. It cares only whether you are totally subservient to Moloch and the Molokian energies and agenda. And it will, commit genocide. It will torture, enslave, whatever it takes to have that total top-down control. And it also really likes to destroy the innocent, likes to invert natural law. Whereas the Luciferian impulse is much more in alignment with natural law, but still not fully in alignment with natural law the way that the Most High in the Golden Age, which is what Jesus and Lao Tzu and the Buddha and Krishna and Kuan Yin in the East. And I'm sure there's lots of beautiful female teachers whose names we lost, Mary Magdalene, many will say. I would tend to agree with that. And so that's that's an emanation from the Most High. This Luciferian impulse is sort of the best humanity has to offer, as opposed to the best that big G God has to offer, at least the Most High, the God of the Golden Ages here on Earth. And so I see that as we're moving this phase transition, that the Molokians are going to lose, and they're going to lose to specifically the Luciferian faction. And there's a split between the elites. And, you know, that might scare some people, but consider, like, it's just such a better impulse, this meritocracy, this enlightened self-interest, you know, working together. Yeah, it's still top down, but it's way better than the total slave genocide, torture, child harm system. The Luciferians are very much against the Epstein style harm of children. That's one of the huge distinctions. And frankly, just on that basis of merit alone, I would much rather have them running the show than the Molokians. But they're also going to bring with them much higher technology. They're the ones who, in my estimation, control the actual real secret space programs or clandestine space programs. And so they have anti-gravity and free energy. And that's part of why I'm certain that the Luciferian faction is going to win, because they have the ultimate high ground. They have space, they have the rods of God, the kinetic weapons. They also have anti-grav and basically close to free energy, unlimited energy, and, you know, just very high tech. And so the way I see things shaking out is that, first and foremost, I want to recommend, viewer, I want to say I'm not a financial advisor. Please talk to your financial advisor. I am not responsible for any actions you take based on what I'm going to say. This is just the opinion of a random guy on the internet. It's based on some spiritual sources, some logic and reasoning on my part, my understanding of economics, and from some gnosis from the angels. It is not financial advice, and I cannot be held responsible or liable for you taking any actions on your own based on what I'm about to say. With that in mind, there's a lot of indications, both financially and from the angels and other deities and spirits, that we are on the cusp of a massive financial crash. I've been told the two windows of extreme danger of when finally we're going to see the real chaos that shows that we're at the end of the Kali Yuga and where the Molokians fall, but a lot of probably damage will happen during that transition. A lot of lives will likely be lost. That the 2 points of maximum danger coming up are anytime from right now, mid to late September, or actually late September, to the end of October is extremely likely, basically up to the election. And then if for some reason we're able to, you know, get through that period of time with things being relatively stable, it's extremely likely that next spring things are going to get very hairy. I'm guessing the reason that the angels have told me that is because of the IRS thing, you know, with all the agents, and then also the central bank digital currency. Like, they're going to be doing some kind of testing or maybe implementation. It's not entirely clear, sometime like next May. So next mid to late spring. So, you know, based on these two different windows, I just want to encourage you to please make sure you and your family has a minimum of 6 months of food for each member of your family. That's approximately 25 pounds of dried food per person per month. And that's kind of like a low rations. If you know you're going to have to do a lot of intense physical labor, you're going to want to up that. You want to get probably mylar bags and oxygen absorbers, and you put the dry food, like the dried beans, quinoa, rice, right? Like whatever you're going to have, those are cheap staples that are readily available still. And what you'll do is you'll put it in a mylar bag and you'll seal it. But before you seal it, you drop an oxygen absorber in there, and then you put it in a bucket. The bucket's to keep rodents out. The mylar bag is to seal it from oxygen. The oxygen absorber in there is to make sure there's no oxygen in there, which oxygen is one of the main things that causes sort of rot to occur. But it also will kill any insect eggs that might be in your food, or that, rather more accurately, certainly in your food. We always, I know it's gross, but we always eat a certain amount of insect eggs. And that's not really a problem most of the time. It's just more protein. But it is a problem if you're relying on food and you open it up and a bunch of you know, moths are in there eating all your food. So that's a way that you can stabilize food for longer. You'll need to look all that stuff up. That's not my responsibility, and I'm just going to say, look it up. There's plenty of information about this kind of food storage I'm describing. So once you have the 6 months at least worth of food, and honestly, I would recommend a year or maybe more. The more you have, the better, and then you can help other people. Make sure you also have water, a source of water nearby. If there's any medicine you need, anything you need like that. And then you want to start thinking about things like tools, any kind of like things that you think you might need, maybe having a little bit of extra gasoline, and put the stuff called stable, STABIL, in your gas in order to have it last longer, preferably in like a metal jerry can, just to have like enough that you could drive a ways if you needed to. Anything that you might need to defend yourself and your family. Unfortunately, there might be people who are upset or desperate. Community is incredibly important, finding like-minded people and linking up with them. And then you probably want to get money out of the banking system and out of the stocks. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I do not take any responsibility for what I'm saying. That's completely on you to do any research and due diligence and talk to a professional financial advisor. Simply stating my opinion. So with that said, getting your money out of the banking system, certainly getting your money out of the stock market. I would advise getting your money out of crypto, especially off the exchanges, unless it's an amount that you're willing to use to hope for that moonshot. It can happen, but I actually don't think that is going to happen, unfortunately. I have lost a fair amount in crypto myself, so no shame in that. It happens. But then the other thing you want is if you have additional money, you want to have cash on hand to pay for bills, but it even looks like cash might be getting difficult or even be banned at some point. Sounds like maybe there's been some executive orders that might have that. So then you want silver and gold. So gold is very transportable, but it's not really reasonable for small transactions. That's for more an amount that you might need if you need to bug out and move quickly. Then you'd want that. And then you want silver for more transactional, or even copper. If you have it and you can prove it's copper, it will be valuable, but silver is generally speaking easier and it'll be more valuable. It's very likely to go up extremely high fairly soon. Everything may go down in tandem when it goes down. Generally, cash is king during the first part of the collapse, but likely the response will be to print more money, as they've been doing, which would make your cash less valuable. I mean, we've all been seeing the inflation with gas and food and all that stuff over the past year or so. It's very hard to miss. Silver and gold haven't been going up as much as they should with the inflation, but that's because the central banks go out of their way to depress it. However, if you look, you'll notice that constitutional silver, that is pre-1964 coins that have, like, say, 90% silver content, former U.S. coins that all went away, not by accident, after JFK got killed, right? He also did the U.S. note, so he moved the dollars away from the Federal Reserve briefly, and that's definitely part of why he was killed. Silver coinage was removed almost right away. It was one of the first things Lyndon Johnson did, along with sending troops into Vietnam, was to get rid of silver coinage and take it out of circulation. So those coins are disappearing very rapidly from most coin dealers, and they're actually not the best deal right now. The best deal right now seems to be one ounce rounds or 10-ounce bars. I wouldn't recommend that you go higher than a 10-ounce bar or like a 100-ounce bar. Those are actually the cheapest way to get silver. The problem with that is, unfortunately, there have been cases where people have taken 100-ounce bars and hauled out the middle and put lead in there so the weight is right. But then, it doesn't have the same silver content. So silver 1-ounce coins, rounds, are generally the best bang for your buck. And so that's something I would say, in my opinion, is something worth considering. But food is by far the most important thing. There's a lot of stuff showing that supply chains are breaking down. There's farmers who are tilling their fields under because they're getting paid. Bill Gates is buying up farmland. The nitrogen laws they've passed, the World Economic Forum. And so, I'm not trying to blackmail anyone, because I will tell you, after all this stuff gets done, things are going to get much better very rapidly. 2027, 2028, I've been told by the virtues, which are the angels of healing and prophecy, that the molokians will be on the run. They'll be running to the four corners of Earth, and they'll be getting hunted down by the luciferians almost certainly. And we will even see a real big shift in what's happening by 2025. But honestly, things are going to get dicey and hairy before then. I'm very close to certain on it. Please don't get freaked out on it. Just take practical action. Start finding your tribe, your soul family, people who are going to listen. You know, be careful who you talk to about like that you're taking these preparations, you know, because when people get scared and desperate, people may act out of character for them. And so, you know, just keep that in mind. If you have the means to get out of the city, that's a good idea. But if not, the single best thing you can do to prepare yourself and to be safe is to do that inner work, right? Do that shadow integration I talk about a lot on this channel. You can watch my earlier Sammy Richard interview where we talk about shadow integration and the fall of Davos, because integrating your shadow is going to allow you to move in a flow state, you know, because it's, you know, once like, for example, extreme chaos, right? Like a war, right? Like the invasion of D-Day. I like to use this example a lot to point out this principle. You know, if you watch Saving Private Ryan, there's that scene where they invade D-Day and like there's one of those boats and it opens up and just immediately a machine gun just kills everyone in that boat. Unlucky boat. And then there's another part where this guy's going up and a sniper bullet goes patang off his helmet and he's so stunned, and this guy goes, man, you're so lucky, and he takes off his helmet to look at it, and then he gets shot by the sniper again the second time, but the first time it bounced off. And like if you watch, it's just chaos, and just some people move with grace and they flow through it. And so if you're not in a reactive state and you're in a state of grace where you're in alignment with your higher self, it doesn't matter the amount of preparation you've done. If you can't, I mean, you should do it because fortune favors the prepared, right? God favors the prepared. Those are sayings that are out there and for a reason. That said, if for some reason you don't have the financial means, what you can do is start getting your body healthy and start getting yourself emotionally healthy, start getting yourself spiritually healthy. Because if you're in that flow state, you're going to be able to navigate any situation that comes at you. Conversely, there's people who are doing all kinds of prepping, they got a bunker, blah, blah, but they're all like, you know, paranoid and like radiating scaredness and whatever. And that's going to attract violence to it. Right? If there's a violent gang and then there's people who are paranoid and like ready to be violent and they come near each other, they're going to attract each other. But you might be able to walk right through the crossfire of those people and they'll ignore you because they're fixated on the other person that's vibrating at the same state as them. So I'm definitely not trying to blackpill anyone here, but I am saying now is the time to take action. Do not delay. Take action. Hear my words. Take action. Do it right away. There is a company called Azure Standard where you can order a lot of bulk food at a very reasonable price if you get the large amount, like the 25-pound bag. There's tons of different bulk food providers online. You can get a lot of stuff on Amazon nowadays if need be. I would, you know, say to support smaller relative businesses like Azure Standard. There's tons of other ones. There's tons of Patriot things. There's a lot of things out there where people are kind of like into the doom porn, the fear porn, and they really overprice their stuff. And they're like, here, have iodine in case there's nuclear fallout and all this kind of stuff. You don't need to get to that level, okay? And there's no need to get freaked out about that kind of thing. You just need to take reasonable action and be aware we win. Like the good guys win. Like it's going to be a lot better for those of us who are in that vibration of the Most High because we're moving in the direction of the Most High, and you are automatically moving in accordance with natural law. If you're a true Christian and you help out, you know, people around you and are loving to them, if you're a true Buddhist, you know, if you're true, like there's a lot of Orthodox Jewish people who are really beautiful and they work to help their community. You know, there's a lot of Muslim people who are really beautiful and loving and they help their community and they're in that vibration. Hindu, like whatever, it doesn't matter, you know. And then there's people who are don't, like myself, who don't identify with any of the major religions, but are very spiritual and they move in accordance with natural law. That is going to provide you with way more protection than being super paranoid and freaked out and having an entire bunker full of stuff. And so don't freak out if you don't have the means. Just take what action you can, and whatever action you can take, that's the amount you were supposed to take. And the rest of it's going to be grace. And if you're watching this, you're much more likely to be one of those people who can move through the chaos and come through to the other side. And then when we get through this period of chaos, and it will be, I'm being told it'll be 2 or 3 years of pretty intense chaos, right? Especially in cities, it's going to be tricky. But then once we get through that, all these old structures that have been so detrimental to humanity will have crumbled. And it's funny because the Molokians and the Luciferians are doing all the heavy lifting for us. They're dismantling all those structures that would have never gone away if it wasn't for that people who were in position of powers, the elites, were doing a controlled demolition. Now, of course, the Molokian faction wants to implement this great reset, this nasty, horrible cradle to grave control system. They will fail. They're destined to fail. But the more effective we are in resisting that and moving away from that and moving in the direction of natural law, the better we and everyone around us in our community will do. Okay? And so that's what it's on us for us to do. And getting your body right and getting your spiritual state right is just as important, and perhaps more important than making sure you have tons of, like, gold and silver or whatever. Make sure you have that food. That's the real key. Food. Make sure you have that. And don't talk too much about it. I know that I'm putting myself out there, but I'm doing that to help you. And also, I know that it's already on, and you just have to accept that everything we say and do anymore is tracked, and that we don't matter. We're not doing big things that intelligence agencies care about. We're just regular people, and that gives us an advantage. We're able to move, and with all the chaos that's going on, all the faction, all the fighting and infighting and so forth, we're kind of invisible to these people. They don't have time to track little people like us, so you can move pretty freely. You can speak pretty freely. I mean, don't do illegal stuff and don't say illegal stuff. If you're saying that you're planning on doing illegal stuff, you're gonna reap the consequences of that. So I'm not suggesting anything like that. I'm saying if you're talking about stuff that's legal and you're just taking action to protect your family and so forth, talk freely, be open and honest with people, but maybe don't mention it on Facebook, all over the place. Maybe don't talk to people who aren't, who don't kind of get it, and just be wise about this stuff, and just take what action you can take. And, like, I got my exercise bike over there. I'm working out all the time. I do my exercise bike every day on the second highest tension, 35 minutes with a 5-minute warm-up, 5-minute cool down. And I work on my abs, my core every day. And then 3 times a week I go and I lift weights. So take care of your body, eat good, clean food, and start grounding, getting out in nature, start working on your shadow, start doing that inner alchemy. And that is going to prepare you far better than being a billionaire with a bunker will. Truly, truly it will. You're much more likely to be favored by the divine grace. And so you're going to make it. The people you love that are close to you, that have, that have the blinders off, they're going to make it. Not everybody's going to make it. It was always destined in this period of time that some people weren't going to make it and some people are. And that's just how it is. So help the people you can help, but start first and foremost. Take care of yourself and your inner state. Take care of your children if you have children, of course, and your loved ones who are around you, and then build community from there. And we're going to be able to create a beautiful, incredible new world once this all falls down. And we're going to have much higher technology that'll be released publicly. That's another thing that Birches have told me, that by 2030, we'll have anti-gravity and free energy will be available, and lots of other incredible technology that's currently hidden and vouchsafed by various different good aligned secret societies and Luciferian groups as well. And so it's going to be a beautiful time. 2030 and beyond is going to be a beautiful time. But this next period of time is the great bottleneck, sometimes called the harrowing. And so we will have to get through this, and you will get through this. You have the strength. If you're hearing this message, you were meant to hear this message, and you were meant to take action, and you were meant to survive. And it's going to be beautiful. We just have to get through this next difficult part. So much love to you. If you have any questions, within reason, I will answer them down below. Please do just take the time to look up the Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers, like 200cc oxygen absorbers, and then just the standard 5-gallon paint bucket, like white, handle buckets are a good way to go as far as that food storage stuff goes. And then silver rounds, if you just type in silver rounds, you can look at AppMex, but there's usually like better local shops. Support your local shops. It's usually cheaper anyway. And so, yeah, and then just, you may want to consider taking some practical steps to be able to defend yourself and your family, whether that's taking martial arts classes or, doing what you need to do to have the tools necessary to help. And remember, gardening tools, any kind of tools that are useful. If you're a mechanic, you want your mechanic tools. If you're an electrician, your electrician tools, all that kind of stuff is going to come in handy. And we're going to have to really support each other and come together. And you know what? That's going to be beautiful. And people are going to find strength and skills and talent they never even knew they had during this period of time. So I'm just going to leave on that positive note. Things are going to get better. In the short term, they're going to get chaotic. Things are going to get so much better. In a decade from now, you're going to look back on this time and be like, wow, I survived that. And look at how beautiful the world is now. All right. Much love, everyone. See you later. Bye.